This is the Samsung Galaxy A05 and this is the Galaxy A05s. And they are the shiny new budget entrants in the Samsung Galaxy A series right now. But is the letter S worth additional $30, or are you better off getting the A05 and also getting a fast charger for this device? Yeah, both of them don't have chargers in their boxes. And so, without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. So why don't we start with the cameras on these devices? I know that's the main reason you are here. While you get a triple camera setup for the bigger brother here, which are 50 megapixel main lens, a 2 megapixel depth sensor and a 2 megapixel macro lens, you get a dual camera setup with the A05, which are a 50 megapixel main lens and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. As far as I'm concerned, both are two camera devices because the macro lens you get on the A05s has no actual use. You are better off using the main camera and then doing this crop in if you really want to get close-up shots. It's just better that way. Anyway, the extra lens is here for aesthetics and it makes this device look like the top-end devices in this lineup. Right out the bat, these photos are acceptable for the price you pay and they both produce photos that are good when you have great lighting. Most of the time, the A05s comes right on top, but at other times, the A05 does a better job. For instance, in this photo here, the A05 got the image closest to what I saw while taking this photo. The A05s tried its best to make the top really dark, but in the studio setting, there were colorful reflections on that black shirt, and they were discarded on the S variant. In fact, you'd see more detail from the A05 from these photos, but in the portrait mode, edge detection was poor and about the same for both of these devices, and I think it's a thing of preference here. So which color do you prefer? With these cubes here, they are closed, but again, the A05 takes the lead by a tiny margin. Another thing I did notice is the A05, which is the smaller one here, actually does play with the green so well as can be seen. But that goes at the detriment of the whole photo. When you have a lot of greenery, there's always this shift or change for the overall photo, and of course, this can be corrected in post, but that leaves me most times with the A05s for the choosing. So for the front-facing cameras, you have an 8 megapixel sensor on the A05 and a 13 megapixel sensor on the A05s. And as you can see here, these photos are completely different. One has a lot of saturation going on and that's the A05, while the other had close to what I saw when I took these photos on that day. But the smoothing on the face was out of this world and also the background looks truer to life on the A05. I honestly would go with the A05s on this one, but let me know your thoughts down there. Now over to the video side of things. For the front-facing cameras, you should notice that there is more smoothing going on with the Galaxy A05. It has more of this green yellowish tints, while the A05s tilts a bit in the other direction, giving you more of the magenta tint. Both devices struggled with dynamic range, exposure handling and white balance, and I'm not a huge fan. But if I'll be working with anyone here, I'd go with the Galaxy A05s because of the slightly better quality, a little more vibrant colors, and the more details you get in the footage from this camera. For the rear camera videos, they can be recorded at a maximum of 1080p like the front cameras, but yet again I prefer the quality from the A05s. The footage feels a little more contrasty and colorful, like close to what you see when you take the photos, and again, despite both of them being 50 megapixel lenses, it does look like you get the better detailing from the A05. Somehow it works that way. So practically and generally, these devices are really close, and as much as I'd love to say that the more expensive device here, the A05s, is the absolute winner, it isn't that simple. The A05s had a lot of misses from my overall test. There were times where the A05 was better for the rear cameras, and also the camera app did take a little longer to register the capture on the A05s. I mean, you can see this for yourself. But for the fact that we get a better selfie camera and better video quality on the A05s, this actually wins in this department. As far as the build here, both are made out of plastic and they apply totally different ideologies for the rear. You get a smooth and glossy finish with the A05, which is more prone to fingerprints, and the matte finish with the A05s, which obviously means less fingerprints. Both have a dual SIM tray, and if you wish to expand the memory on these devices, you can do that using the dedicated micro SD card slots on both of them, up to 1 terabyte for these devices. For the port here, you have USB-C and a 3.5mm ports, which have been taken off top-end devices. You can plug in your earphones to activate your radio on them, and yes, both of these devices come with a Samsung FM radio and modem. These devices feel about the same in hand. The buttons have basically the same tactile feel. In fact, this is 194 grams and here is 195 grams, and both of them are not water resistant. The only major difference in terms of the build here is the fact that you get a fingerprint sensor on the A05s, and shamefully there is no fingerprint sensor on the A05. So for the build quality, considering the fingerprint scanner here, number of cameras you get here, which I touched on earlier, the A05 wins in this category. By the way, both smartphones come out of the box with no chargers, just the user start guide, SIM ejectors, a USB cable, of course Type-C, and yeah, you get the devices from within the box. So that's an extra cost to get a 25-watt charging speed if you do not have a charger laying around your house. For the sound quality, the A05 here sounds a little bit louder, for lack of a better term, or should I say cleaner at the maximum volume. Both have downfiring single speakers, but the A05 here still wins. Over to displays, you get 6.7-inch LCD panels on both devices, so basically the same size, same dewdrop notch for the cameras, but the A05s gives you more resolution, so more details with the 1080p display here, while you get a 720p with the A05. If I'm being honest with you, watching videos, especially YouTube or social media, on both of them independently makes no difference. You won't be able to tell which is which until you bring them side by side and pixel peep. I've noticed a slight warmer look with the A05, but you have to really look for it to see it. Colors are reproduced about the same, and they have relatively the same level of brightness. Now, where things differ is in the refresh rate on those devices. The A05 maxes out at 60Hz, while the A05s gives you a 90Hz refresh rate, meaning you'd get smoother looking animations when the need arises and more snappy feeling device. Yes, for the A05s. So the higher resolution and the higher refresh rate on the A05s here makes its display the better one. For performance here, both are decent performing budget devices. Even though on paper, the Snapdragon 680 on the A05s should be the better processor, I didn't really notice a difference in terms of the handling for day-to-day tasks, and this even went down to gaming. For instance, Call of Duty Mobile could do medium graphic quality and high frame rate on the A05, and the A05s, which is supposedly better, you could get as high as very high graphic quality and medium frame rates. But that isn't the case when you come over to PUBG. You get HD graphics and high frame rates from the A05, which is now better than the balanced graphics and medium frame rates you get from the A05s. Now, this could mean that the developers haven't optimized the game pretty well for this device. I might be wrong because I doubt it's a processor issue since these processors have been out for a while. But again, on paper, the A05s has the better and more power efficient chip, 6nm against 12nm, and generally a better and faster processor, which again didn't translate to a real day-to-day life difference. So the A05s here wins in this category. Now, speaking of power efficiency, you get a 5000 mAh battery capacity for both of these devices, which supports 25 watts fast charging speeds. Both will go from 0 to 100 in about 90 minutes with such chargers, but they do not come with any charger within their boxes, and as far as the battery life on here, it's a tie. Both would easily take you into the next day on an average use. So, which should you pick? The 115,000 naira or $100 A05, or the 150,000 naira $130 A05s for the same memory configuration? The Samsung Galaxy A05s is objectively the better device. You get a better display and arguably better camera, and yes, a fingerprint sensor for the extra $30. For me, it's actually worth the amount, but would you go that route, or would you rather get the Galaxy A05 here and also get a charger with that extra $30? Because that's an option. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and also here are dedicated reviews for these devices here. Cuídate.